Well, this chapter was a blast. I know I'm the funniest person alive, but thank you once again for telling me so. One Punch Man 139 Abyss was a continuing streak of fantastic chapters of One Punch Man. This is just, I hope this is what the year continues to be, and I feel like it will. I mean, obviously, I'm a bit biased, I like the series, but I think more than anything, like since 2021, we've had like good chapter, and I can't complain about what we've got. You know, it's been astounding stuff. So, chapter starts off with a beautiful cover page of Earth with someone with an astronaut in space and a deep diver down below looking at these cubes, which we learn more about in this chapter. And there's a monster behind the deep sea diver, and then there's the moon behind the astronaut. So I'm guessing, like, for me that was like symbolism of like, oh, you know, from the heights, from like the highest heights and the deepest depths, these cubes are in, like, no matter where, and also maybe in like different time periods as well. Like, only because I don't really know. I'm guessing astronauts still don't look like. No, I'm guessing that deep sea divers don't still wear that kind of outfit. Basically saying that these guys are, like, this is important stuff, of course, as we know. And I guess that's it. Like, it's still the moon. Still the moon. There's a lot of focus on the moon recently, and I'm concerned about the moon. Yeah, but you know this by now. So, chapter starts off with where we end off last time, with Saitama, Flashy, and Oculetto Monaco staring into the abyss. I get that's the name of the title. Clever. As they start going in, Monaco goes to take a look inside, and she tries using her different types of vision. We learn she has different types of vision. It's cool, but it's basically for us to see more than anything like that. It's nothing to do with light. It's nothing to do with anything there. It's whatever is like making this shroud in darkness is unnatural. Like the whole point of light is it can't escape, or if you wanted it to like it's like a darkness that can't escape. It's like Vanta Black. You know, it absorbs light itself. It's that dark in there. So nothing works, and it is very quickly followed up with the voice of God, who asks what do they desire. And at first they are all pretty confused about what's going on. Which obviously they would be too, but what I like is the moment they realise it's not any of them, like, and it carries on talking, Flashy and Saitama get a bit more serious. Like, they've been very kind of laid back the past few chapters with them being underground and everything, but you know what? It's all there. Like, the moment he's like, you know, oh, speak your desire and I will grant it if you are, speak a fervent wish. They just change. They're like, right, it's not any of us, what's going on? They've got a bit serious, something that they don't know what is happening, like they don't know what this is, so they're on alert, you know? And it sounds stupid, but because of like how Saitama's normally like, spoilers, if you did not know, Saitama is my favourite character in the series. So, and as much as I love goofy little Saitama, it's great, we get those rare moments of Saitama when he's a little bit serious, and I can like embrace those with all my being, so the moment he's like, what's going on, I'm like, oh. So of course, once God has basically said to them, hey, I'll offer you a wish, but in return, you know, if you don't, like, you've got to prove yourself worthy, and if you don't, you will face confiscation. Like, they're trying to decide what's going on, and Saitama responds with, hey, are you the king of the monsters? I don't know if you show yourself. I'll still punch you out though. And then of course we get to that next panel where where like this big ball of energy of something shows up behind them, and at that point, oh, did Matt get excited over the thought that Saitama was gonna meet God, that our hero was about to meet the potential final villain of the series. And of course Flashy goes, is it him? And then of course, well, you know, it's him instead. Big old blast shows up out of nowhere. We finally get a good old look at Blast. And oh boy, is he sick. When I thought his design couldn't get much cooler, he's wearing some sunglasses, and as we all know, it's sunglasses that can make anything look cooler. So just from his design alone, we can see obviously he's been fighting for a long time, he's experienced, obviously he's older than when we saw him last time as well. We can also see about how, well, at least he's taking damage, so he's fought against foes that are worthy of him, of his level. He's been up against some powerful threats at least, you know. It's not like He's not like Saitama where he's come out with no damage at all. This man has at least done something, of course, the biggest one being the big old scar on his face as he takes off the shades, and he's like, okay, and just in time. He's like, okay, Blast, let's put this back on. I'm looking pretty fly. So, I'll just start by saying this. Throughout this whole discussion, what I once again like is Saitama. Saitama, being himself, he has no kind of agency about who this guy is. Like, the whole time, like, Saitama's like, sorry, who are you? Like, you're here at Blast? Is that your name, Blast? Like, that's his whole attitude, whereas everyone else, you know, really cares about who this guy is. We, the audience, care who this guy is. Flashy Flash cares who this guy is. God cares who this guy is. Everyone cares who this guy is, you know? He goes to pick up the cube, immediately showing his strength. We know how heavy and dense the cube is. He's spinning it on his finger like a basketball. That's what it is to him, as he goes to explain, like, oh, so you haven't touched the cube, have you? And he's like, well, okay, and like, he's not like serious either. Well, like, in the sense of like, he's like, what? Oh no, this is a big problem. You touched the cube. Oh, this is bad. Like, he's very much like, oh, okay, well, yeah, as long as you didn't make the wish, that's fine. Make sure that he's very chill and calm. And of course, we go to as they keep talking, he then explains what the cube actually does. The cube pretty much allows you to speak to God, and by speaking to God, obviously, this is where he offers you the wish for, like, as long as you are worthy of this. It actually, I was thinking about this, in terms of who'd be worthy for a wish from God, maybe Saitama actually would be, because, like, anytime, I've said this before, but anytime I've seen people make wishes from God, they've been at, like, a very low point in their lives. So, for example, like, Homeless Emperor, of course, was about to kill himself, Sairochi, you know, she, like, all her plans were coming to fruition. She was at a low point of despair. So Saitama might, to be honest, be able to, because he can actually, he is pretty depressed. So maybe there is something there for him to, like, make a wish. I don't know. We'll see how it goes on. I don't think, of course, in any way he's going to make a wish, but I think it makes him, if there was someone worthy, it would be him. Of course, we can obviously see how, like, God is actually kind of angry from Blast showing up as well, because from the fact he's shouting, we can see this from Flashy and Saitama, like, blocking their ears, and he's like, you're Blast, aren't you? As he takes away the cube. And on top of that, Blast actually probably has now the most impressive technology. For the longest time, this came from Drive Knight, who was obviously, you know, had the ability to morph his body how he needed to. Blast could teleport. Blast could teleport, and he can store things. He's got some kind of storage space. Like, they're like, to get rid of the cube, he just like, and it goes absorbed into him. He's like, well, this is a hobby of mine. So so many questions about this man. You know, it's like, it's good because he answered the question of like, what is Blast like, and then we get that. But also, there's so many questions about him too. Of course, Flashy tries him. Maximum speed. He goes for maximum speed against Blast with the Flashy kicks. Blast immediately just appears and goes like, whoa, calm down for a sec. He just outsped Flashy Flash, the fastest hero in the Hero Association, although it was weirdly pointed out to me that Flashy was actually the third fastest person in that room. So after they've had this moment, of course, Saitama makes a lovely little comment like, does he just attack everyone he meets for the first time? He acknowledges Oculette, and he sees her and he's like, why is there a monster with you? Doesn't seem to take it prison, gives her a little stare. Obviously Saitama explains the situation. At first Saitama was like staring down as well, like, yeah, why is she? And then of course he was like, it was actually revealed that it was like a joke, because that was actually like when she was nervous, she just glows. So it's just the impression of it at that point. It's like, oh no, like, I'm sorry, when I just get nervous I glow like this, oh no. So that was quite good. When he mentioned, well, that's okay. Well, let's get you out of here. We'll meet up again some other time. And he puts his hands together. They make an infinity symbol, and they disappear with Blast, so they can come back whenever they want to. So time flows slower in that area they were in. Maybe it was only when they were interacting with God. So maybe they'll be in a different situation. So obviously, like, a lot, basically, I think a lot can happen. They will, like, in terms of what it means is they're not going to instantly show up, like, now, like, what's going on with the Monster Association and the Hero Association, especially with, like, the cadre starting to appear, but I think it's basically them saying, okay, they will show up later on in the fight. So, at a later date, we'll get Flashy and Saitama there for battle. So yeah, it's gonna be good, hopefully. And I will say this about Blast. So everything about this introduction was super good. It was obviously meant there for us to see, like, to like him, and they did a really good job. He has a cool design. He's got comparisons to Saitama. He's very strong. The only person we've seen lift that cube is Saitama. Don't know how heavy it is completely until we see other characters lift it. But there's also characters, but we've seen him outspeed Flashy Flash. You know, he seems like a nice guy. He's pretty chill. everything about this seems really cool. However, I would just like to make the point of, my concern is that's not all there is to Blast, because this is how one writes his characters. You know, one of the big messages I think of One Punch Man is obviously don't judge a book by its cover, and maybe not isn't judge it by like its first chapter. Like if you look at Saitama, for example, you know, obviously, you know, design-wise he looks really weak and simple, but in fact he's the strongest character in the series. You think, oh well, having all that power is great, right? Well, again, Saitama's got a lot of emotional problems because he's got no thrill. He's not feeling anything because he's that strong. His goal did not plan out for him. Also, the same with many other characters: Garo, Snek, Suiryu, Tatsumaki. Glasses, all characters who seem pretty one note at first, but actually have more facets to them. Moomin Rider as well, actually, that's what I should have said. They all seem pretty one note, but there is more to them what goes on. A lot of these characters I was like, oh, you're a bad guy, I don't like you, or oh, you're just like this, that's fine. But they have development and growth, and we learn more about them, which changes how we see them. So I want to just keep that in mind for Blast, you know, that's the main thing. Like, it's easy to be blown away by the fact that this is the S-Class Rank 1 hero, we're finally getting to see what he's doing as well, and we get to, like, everything about him is super cool, right? And if he is just cool, that's fine. I'm happy with him being that, but with this kind of writing, there tends to be more to his character than meets the eye. So just, if you just remember anything from this review, it's just keep your eye on Blast, okay? We can obviously, I don't have a problem with people loving this introduction because it's an amazing introduction to a character that's been built up really well. Can we just keep in mind that Blast is, like, there's probably more to Blast than what we're seeing here. And as the chapter goes on, we then cut over to Child Emperor, Zombie Man, and a Mind Mask. And we actually learn what they were doing. The reason that they aren't, like, they weren't part of the attack is because they're on the rear guard, which makes sense, because if there's any surprise attacks from the monsters down below, then they at least need to make sure that someone's there in comparison to everyone else, in comparison to everyone just jumping up and attacking at once. Because if any monsters escaped when that was all going on, that would be a problem. It's getting dark. I probably should have filmed this all at once instead of... Oh, aren't you good? So, as the rear guard have shown up, as we get to it, Child Emperor is admitting his mistakes. He's like, I made a huge mistake and we struggled a lot more because of this. I should have invited Silverfang and Demon Cyborg to join us in this raid. You know, they're powerful allies. Zombie Man, you've got to take over. I'm not fit to be this leader of the group. You're rational. Like, you think you're rational. Is that a word? You are basically, you're calm, collected, and you're good at thinking. Matt tried to use some fancy words and apparently was limited by his own knowledge. So, at that point, it's when a Mind Mask intervenes and going, no, mate, we can't have a monster lead us. Because after all, if there's anyone who's got to lead us today, it has to be the ideal human. Which is a massive thing for a Mind Mask to admit. Because a Mind Mask is always very, like, I've said this for a while, anytime he's in an interaction with someone, rather than accepting his own faults, like, he instead deflects them onto someone else. Like, whenever something's a problem, I mean, you think about a couple of chapters ago, he's like, oh, a child telling me what to do, blah, 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 but after that moment of Blast, he's had some time to think about it, and Zombie Man notices this as well. He's like, he notices that child, like, what he said, but of course, because of his previous interactions with the heroes, Child Emperor doesn't see the compliment that a Mind Mask was trying to give him. He instead just sees the insult to Zombie Man. He just sees him going, no, like Zombie Man's not a monster, you take that back. And you know, like, I guess Mind Mask is trying to do something, like, he's trying to better himself since he fought a Blast, but it's not fully there yet. Like, he has to work more, of course, because to earn their trust back after everything he's done, like, after everything he said and thought, it's not going to be easy for him, but it's getting there, you know. I think there's definitely something there. I do really like this moment, of course, and also the fact that Zombie Man's there, from Zombie Man, who's kind of like Child Emperor's hero from what we've seen. Like, he goes up to him and he's like, no, like, you've got to lead us. Like, there's better, trust me, there's better people to lead this team than me, but you've got to understand what you've done here is incredible. Like, you've just taken a massive step of growth in recognizing your own faults and recognizing what needs to be fixed. It's huge, and it is huge for him, because like, so many of these heroes are just like, I'm the best, I can do whatever, and for someone to actually go like, you know what, no, I'm not the best, I need to work on myself. That's huge, especially Child Emperor. You know, he's making the kind of growth that these grown adults should be making, not the child. Like, he's leading the team, and the fact that these adults are, like, at least a couple of these adults are recognizing, no, man, like, this kid's the best of us. That's massive, you know, like, the whole time, Child Emperor's really been putting in the work. You know, he's had to organise it. He's used all his weapons up. He's done everything he can. Like, after he found out Taro was back down there, like, he was ready to go back down. I know, like, the redraws he's a bit more begrudging of it, and I personally really enjoyed that. Like, in the original, but in the original he did that. In the redraws, he was like, no, I'll go down there. No, this kid needs saving, let's go save him. And I like that. Like, Child Emperor's really earned himself as a hero, and like the fact he's recognising, no, I've got to be better than this. Like, you know, we could have done a lot more, been a lot more effective if I was just a better character. And the fact that they recognise what he's doing and they're encouraging this kind of growth is very good, you know. And he's like, and of course we get that panel of Zombie Man, like, look, we're all humans, guys, come on. And Amai Mask is actually kind of like, that's where Amai Mask is taking note of this. I want to see more Amai and Zombie Man because, of course, I guess, mostly because of this monster thing they've got between them. Of course, Zombie Man was created by the House of Evolution. He is a monster, like, he's kind of half monster himself. Of course, there is a monster inside of Amai Mask that we haven't fully seen yet. So these two interacting on how they deal with their, like, issues with their monster is very interesting to me. And of course, it all comes down to the moment where these energy balls show up. We all knew who it was, though, as they shot up and started blasting. A boom, boom, bang. And Zombie Man saves Child Emperor. It takes massive damage from it, but what I actually love to know is how much research Murata had to do to get this going, because with this chapter, like, in particular, obviously, like, Murata's an amazing artist, but, you know, like, with artists, you have to do research and referencing stuff. How much material did he have to look at of, like, human bodies to be able to draw this? Because his guts are just spilling on the floor. Like, how much, like, dedication and time do you have to just, like, okay, human anatomy, and of course there's a lot of that, but in particular, like, the insides of a human, it looked good. It was gross, but it looked good. And of course, this means that Homeless Emperor, and I find that quite amusing, to be honest, that, you know, the two, like, humans who are wrestling with their monster are about to go up against, you know, the most human monster, Homeless Emperor. Like, as we got pointed out, apart from, like, the energy balls, he's pretty much like a regular human. So this, of course, is going to be a good time for Amai Mask to kind of redeem himself as well after what's going on. We know that Zombie Man doesn't have the firepower to deal with Homeless Emperor, but we know Amai Mask is actually pretty strong. So if there's any time for Amai Mask to prove himself, it's going to be against Homeless Emperor, you know. And we'll see how much the ugliness factor appears into this, because Homeless Emperor isn't necessarily ugly. It's just his teeth are pretty messed up. So we'll see if that comes into any kind of thought, and if that comes into anything with this. And of course, weirdly enough, the weakest part of the chapter was Tatsumaki finally finished off Orochi. Like, you wouldn't think that, right? Like, Orochi's been a big bad for a long time, yet because of everything else that happened in this chapter, obviously the Real Blast taking #1, and personally for me, Child Emperor's growth being #2, like, Tatsumaki finally finishing him off, it was actually just okay. Like, honestly, it's weird when more people are paying attention when, like, you know, when the big bads finally gets defeated. We're not paying attention to that final attack. We're like, oh, what's going on in the background over there? Like, that's what we're all doing. We're all looking at that mural. But, you know, she turns it, she spins it round, demolishing Orochi, and finally to land it down there, lands in lava. Boom, sorted. That's Orochi finally gone. For now, at least. Obviously, Drive Night's got a sample. I think it'd be pretty interesting if Orochi could grow back from that somehow, because there is an Orochi cell left. But we'll see how that goes on. Of course, though, we were all paying attention to the mural because it was very interesting. So, as we know, the Monster Association used to be home to where the Subterraneans used to live, until the monsters came in and killed them, killed the rest of them, kicked them out, whatever you want to say. They showed up and started, and we could see that there's like a kind of a sacrificial altar there. Like, it looks like that. Not like at first I was like, is it a throne? But no, it looks like a place where people would sacrifice stuff. So maybe what? Oh my God! What was it the Subterranean said at the beginning? No, what was it the Subterranean said? They said we are the rightful humans of we are the rightful people of the world, right? So maybe they weren't actually joking. What if, right? This is. Okay, what if they're being serious? They were like the real inhabitants of the planet, right? Because they were human. They used to be humans. They lived underground in fear of the monsters, because the monsters were like from hundreds of years ago used to like rule over everything, as we could see from there. Like, you know, like animals were beneath humans, but monsters were far above. You couldn't even reach them. You know, you offered up gifts to them. Like, you offered like jewel, like we see like a cup being offered. I'm guessing like meat, and of course from that table I guess like sacrifices as well. You offer something to appease the monsters to live, and maybe that's what they are, the remnants of like ancient humans. Oh my God, what's going on? Don't you look cool, you little glasses? Sunglasses give me boosted brain power, apparently. Me think good. And then, right, oh my god. What if that's a thing, though? For real, like, oh my god. There's something there. I think there's something there with obviously like the subterraneans being actually the original humans who slowly evolved into monsters from being 1,000 years underground. And, you know? Okay. So that's kind of an idea, but for some reason, and as we know, monsters were gone for a long time if that's the case, but they started to resurface, so monsters were there originally. Yeah, which obviously makes sense because there are monsters who are natural bred, but they're very scarce, like in comparison to humanoid monsters, you know, like I'm thinking, so we've got Deep Sea King, the Sky King, the Subterranean King, Pure Blood. I don't think there's any others, really. And then you've got that filler one, the Ground King from the anime, but let's not count him. So, because that would explain more about the natural monsters. If, like, obviously there are very few, and maybe they had to go into hiding because maybe humanity finally got strong enough to fight back. Which they have, of course, we've seen throughout this. Maybe there's something there. I think there's something there, at least. I don't really have a full... I literally just... That whole subterranean I've just spat out at the top of my head. What do you... I think that's kind of all I've got to say, because that's where the chapter ends, but overall, obviously, fantastic chapter. What do you think about the chapter? I'd love to hear it. It's great. It's like your opinions, honestly. In particular, if you listen to that subterranean stuff, help me flesh it out. I'm trying to figure this out. Maybe there's something there. Apart from that, I'd also like just to see, I'd like to hear what your thoughts on the chapter, your thoughts on Blast, your thoughts on Child Emperor, your thoughts on Orochi finally going. But yeah, overall good chapter. If you like this review, give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more. I'm trying to do these on time. Maybe I'll keep the glasses on, or maybe I won't. Oh no. Well, maybe I'll save the glasses for when Blast shows up again, okay? We'll see. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you had a good time, and I'll see you later. Cool. Bye.